You booked it, episode 133. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining me today on You Booked It, the #1 podcast where you learn how to create a successful entertainment career. Every episode is a masterclass on how to move your career forward. And if you want even more, head over to youbookeditpodcast.com and join the email community where we dig deep into what you can be doing right now to help book that next gig. And now, let's do this. Okay, let's get started. I am excited to introduce my guest today, Christine Cornish Smith. Christine, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right. Christine was most recently seen on Broadway in the original revival cast of Kiss Me Kate, where she was a featured dancer in the ensemble and covered Lois Lane / Bianca. Christine is most well known for her portrayal of Bombalurina in the OBC revival of Cats, where she was nominated for a 2017 Chita Rivera Award for Best Female Performance in a Broadway Musical. She was also seen in the OBC of My Fair Lady in 2018 at Lincoln Center. A cum laude graduate of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music, other credits include Laurie Williams in Susan Stroman's Oklahoma at the Muni, Sheila Bryant in A Chorus Line at the Riverside Theater, original revival tour of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, helmed by Andy Blankenbuehler, and more. She has also performed as a principal vocalist with Fort Wayne Philharmonic, the Phoenix Symphony, and Niagara Symphony Orchestra, as well as a finalist in Kurt Weill's Lottolenia vocal competition in 2014. She appeared in the 25th anniversary concert performance of Crazy for You at Lincoln Center and has also appeared on HBO's Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, Good Morning America, The Today Show, the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, and the Tony Awards. Christine is also a teacher for CLI Studios, Institute of American Musical Theater, Broadway Workshop, Broadway Classroom, among other programs. She's been featured on Playbill, Broadway.com, Inside Dance Magazine, and Broadway Box as one of the incredible debuts of the 2016 Broadway season. Christine, that is a quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Fill in the gaps and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry.
Yes. Yeah, it is so easy that those kind of list of accolades leaves out all of the failures and struggles and all the other stuff.
It sure does.
Um, it definitely does. But yeah, so I currently am still based out of New York, and I feel like currently in this crazy year that we're having, that is 2020, I sort of identify more as a teacher just this year. I think because I feel like that's where I can be of most help. And so I feel that's been my role for 2020. And yeah, I'm actually currently in Dallas, Texas right now. I'm originally from Dallas, and my parents live here. And so, in an effort to save up my coins and to move back
Yep.
home to New York, I'm down here and teaching for a couple studios and teaching over Zoom and doing a workshop with a local theater here and just doing some stuff in Dallas for a bit before I go back up to New York.
Yeah, beautiful. I think that's probably a good place to stay put for the time being.
Yeah, it was definitely a sobering moment because I want to be in New York, but when you realize, okay, all of my work has been canceled and the industry is shut down, all these things, you sort of have to factor in your life and go, all right, what's the smartest move for the time being besides what do I want to do? I think
Yeah.
there's always a time for what do I want to do and what am I going to shoot for? And all right, this is a temporary moment of what's going to be smartest long term. But it's actually, there's been a lot of great parts of it personally for being in Dallas, but I definitely am excited to get back up to New York soon. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on to our first section here. And Christine, look, I am a sucker for a good quote. What is your favorite
Me
quote you'd
too.
like to share with everyone? Yes.
Yes, I am a sucker for quotes too. Like when I was in college in my dorm, I would always have a wall of little pieces of paper that I cut them out and paste them on my wall. I think they're just such a good way to motivate. I actually feel like this has really morphed over time for me because when I was younger, it was always to thine own self be true from Hamlet because it always reminded me to just be honest with myself and do the right thing. And then I, for many years, lived by the quote, everyone is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind. I actually don't know who said that. I lived by that quote for a long time. And then I feel like it started getting me into trouble because like I was overly empathetic and then people would walk all over me. So then now I feel like the quote that I'm living by is it's a little section from a poem by Mary Oliver called Sometimes. And it's just pay attention, be astonished, tell about it, which I really like because it's simple and it just reminds me to, I think, especially for this year, it's easy to want to just shut everything out and ignore things. But part of our jobs as artists and creators is to pay attention and really listen to people and really observe and then take that in and create something from it. So I think that's my favorite quote as of late.
Yeah, I really like that. And you're right, it really does. It sums up the work of what we do.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
so
Yeah, and
eloquent.
listening. I always have to tell myself that I think I've always tried to be a good listener, but I feel like artists that I admire the most in this business or any other businesses, they're always such good listeners. So
Hmm.
I always try to remember that and do that myself too. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And let's get into this next section here. And Christine, of course, you are an entertainer. I'm an entertainer. And I think that you'd agree that this industry can be one of the most brutally honest, subjective, personally emotional industries in existence. And you know as well as I that in
Yeah.
order to create and have a successful career in this industry like you're having now takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yeah, there's an outrageous amount of fun and excitement being an entertainer, being on stage, doing what we do, there are also our fair share of obstacles, challenges, and failures we are going to experience and we're going to have to move forward through. So tell
Hmm.
us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you come out the other side better because of it?
Yeah, there are so many. I wish I could just name one. But yeah, I think, oh man, to put it a little more short, in a more short manner, I think resilience is something you have to practice. You have
Hmm.
to get good at being rejected because one thing that I've really learned is that many times some of the best jobs come after some of my biggest failures. And I think that's partly because in those moments, I did a pretty good job of not dwelling so much on something that I just didn't get. And I really tried to extrapolate what I learned and then move forward. And because I was able to really be ready for that next opportunity, I was able to seize that moment. Whereas I think sometimes it does get easy to just really want to dwell and live in the negativity of either a job not going our way or us getting some negative feedback or whatever that is. It's just really important to understand that the rejection is what shapes us and shapes our
Hmm.
work. I'm sure is that's what you've found as well. And that is builds who we are and like builds the kind of work that we end up doing. And that's actually crucial to being an artist. I'm really uninterested in seeing somebody's work who's just gotten everything they wanted. I don't really want to see them sing a song. I don't really want to, hear what they have to say if they haven't faced something. So sometimes it can be a good thing too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think right in the beginning when you're talking, you said, what I extrapolate what I learned. And I think
Hmm.
that nails it right on the head of everything. Yes, you have failure. Yes, you have to build up resilience and practice being rejected. That is a true thing that comes with this
Hmm.
industry. And it is a muscle in a way. You have to do it
Yeah.
again, and it gets easier and easier. And the more you do it, I find the more you're able to focus on you and what you are bringing to
Yeah.
the table and what's in your control. But
Yeah.
yeah, by extrapolating what you've learned from any of those negative experiences and the good ones, that's really what shapes us as people, shapes our character, shapes what we can bring to the table.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I also just feel nothing is a waste of time. It's so easy to look back and go, oh, God, I wasted that time at that audition, or I wasted time taking that class,
Hmm.
or even people that change careers after 10 years of being in one career and then they decide to go to another. I firmly believe nothing is a waste of time, even if what you learned from it was how not to be or what not to do. That's still really important. That's stuff that is going to be important for you moving forward. So I try to remind myself of that too.
Absolutely. But I think it comes with the caveat that you still need to extrapolate what you learn. If you just have these failures, or if you do career changes, but you never think about what you did or how things went, or you don't try to apply that into your life, then you're not taking full
Yeah.
advantage of that situation. You have to go through it consciously. And then truly,
Yes.
everything
Yes.
is a learning process.
Consciously. Yeah. And just, I think another skill is perspective and being
Mm,
able to zoom out in those moments and go, okay, take myself out of the center of this. Take my own filter away and really try
yeah.
to look at it from more of an objective point of view. And then that always helps. But yeah, I'm always like zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, Christine. And I think that is another helpful thing. But yeah, you said it exactly.
Beautiful. Let's move on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That one moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living. Or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing as an entertainer. Tell us about that.
Yeah, again, this makes me think of my something from my younger years because I think I'm constantly having those spotlight moments as you described it as I'm going on with my career. But one that really comes to mind immediately is when I was younger, I was training to be a ballet dancer. I was more in the ballet world, and that was like the end goal. So I was dancing with this ballet company, the Dallas Metropolitan Ballet, and we were doing this big gala performance for this National Dance America Arts Festival. And we were in Pittsburgh at, I think it was the Benedum Center. I don't remember, a huge theater. Me and my like 15-year-old self was like, this is the biggest theater I've ever seen in my life,
You're
you
right.
know, and it was something that this dance company, we rehearsed 6 days a week, 4 to 5 hours a day after school, plus Sundays. Like it was very intense and it was your life. And then summers, we trained all summer, would go off to summer programs, come back, train before school had started. It was a very intense company. And we had worked really hard for this moment all year for this one performance in Pittsburgh. We all flew up there and it was this very challenging athletic piece with like tons of partnering and group work, and we were even like throwing and catching balls on stage and doing this like jump rope, like this crazy piece that
Wild.
was like 15 minutes long or something. And it was just one of those pieces that required teamwork. It was like you have to constantly have your eyes on everyone else on that stage and be exactly in time and really work as a team. So it was so that much more rewarding because your win was everyone else's win. And I just had this moment after we finished that piece and we really nailed it and we all got off stage and the audience loved it. It was just like such a positive, energizing exchange. And it really, for the first time, I was like, I know that I want to be a part of these ensembles. What I loved about that piece was there was no star. We all depended on each other. And yes,
Yeah.
there were certain roles that were bigger than others and whatnot, but it was just such a team effort. And I remember thinking, oh man, what I will do to have this feeling again, and what I will do to help others know this feeling. And that's what I want to do with my life. I want other people to feel this. I want to keep feeling this. It was just like euphoric. I think that moment in the ballet company when I was a kid was probably that spotlight moment.
I love that. And you're so right. The camaraderie, the working together, the ensemble feeling when everyone is
Yes.
there supporting each other and everyone is giving everything too.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
can feel that on stage.
Yeah, yeah, and that really comes across when it's genuine like that. And I also just think working in any ensemble, but especially as an ensemble dancer, it teaches you so much about even how to like be a good citizen or be a good person in society that understands everyone has their own set of wants, needs, worries, issues, whatever it is. And I think it helps you be a better person in a lot of ways. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's also why this is completely unrelated for most of it, but it's also why I like watching things like the Olympics or the World
yeah,
Cup because you see all of these different countries that are supporting their people and you realize, I think on a world stage, suddenly you go, oh, we're all the same.
yes,
All
thank you.
want the
Say it
same
again.
stuff. We're all the same. You know,
Yeah,
yeah, there's a lot of minor things that might be different, but we all are showing up to support other people, to support
yes,
sport or to support the arts, or we're all in it together. And I think when you can
totally.
see the world through that lens, and you can see people through that lens, getting the opportunity and the pleasure to do these really focused, intense ensemble performances and working at such a high level like that with everyone, and then it's something really special.
Yes, it's so rewarding. And something that I watched this New York Times, I missed the theater thing the
Yeah.
other week. And they were talking about being affected by the stories that we tell. And what is so important about theater, something that I've been reminded of in this time, is that everyone's coming together and we're all finding the commonality within each other and from the audience member to whatever's happening on the stage, because it's impossible that every single person in that audience has experienced the exact circumstance that this actor is going through or this character on the stage is going through.
Right.
But part of the theatrical exchange is okay, what this this is a story about a tribe in Africa that I know nothing about, but they are still experiencing loss or they are still experiencing desire. And I know those feelings. And that's our commonality. And then they can leave the theater understanding something about, a circumstance that might feel very far away to them or might feel very unrelatable to them,
Yeah.
but it's a reminder. It's, yeah, man, do we need theater now? Anyway, I totally am getting on a tangent, but it is that kind of unity aspect of theater is one of the major reasons why I feel like I'm in the theater. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the unity part really comes in. It's something that's unique to live theater as well because movies can be very moving, but
Hmm.
it's impossible, I believe, to get that transfer of energy that you get when you have people in an audience and people on stage telling a gripping story.
Yeah.
There's that,
Yeah.
and that you can connect to it viscerally, and you feel that more so than
Yeah.
what you can get out of a screen. As beautiful and fantastic as movies are, there's
Yeah.
something about live theater that just is so unique.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just like a different craft. Like I look at theater and film as like apples and oranges. It's just a different craft. There are things you can do on film and tools you can use that can get something across that you could never do on the stage. But
Right.
same thing, vice versa. There are things that you can do on the stage that you could never get with film. And that's it definitely the live aspect and the like kind of kinetic energy exchange is something that is really hard to replicate. It's impossible to
Yeah,
replicate.
for
So,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Let's piggyback on that spotlight question and let's talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, the auditions and callbacks, if they happen to be a part of it. But what was going on in your life? And what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
Oh man, I have two like major booked it moments, but for the sake of time, I'll just do the one. And this one was, let's see, I guess it was about 5 years ago. And I was still getting my footing in New York, and I had done the national tour of Joseph for I guess almost a year, and then I left the tour because I got a job at Goodspeed Opera House. So I was doing a show there, and while I was at Goodspeed, I found out that Muni, this theater in St. Louis, was doing Oklahoma, but a very specific version of Oklahoma. It was Susan Stroman's version of Oklahoma, where the Lori, the Lori Williams, also plays a role and also dances the Dream Ballet, which is like rare. It's rare that as an actor, you get to also dance and sing at a high caliber. So
Hmm.
I had also grown up watching the Susan Stroman version of Oklahoma with Hugh Jackman and was obsessed with that. It was like half the reason why I left the ballet world and went into theater. Because I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I can still really dance and do theater. Okay, great. Because I saw this film of the stage version, I'll do theater now. Anyway, and so I was at Goodspeed and I read that the Muni was doing the Stroman version of Oklahoma. And I called my agents and I was like, hey, I have got to play Lori in this Oklahoma. And I think they were like, excuse me, ma'am. I mean, this is like, I just got my equity card from tour. I had never, even when I was in college, I never really had a role. I was just an ensemble gal. Like, I think they were like, okay, I guess we can try to get you an audition, but do you want to audition for the ensemble? Come on. I think they did believe in me, but I do think there was a little bit of, oh, the audacity.
Yes,
And
of course.
but I was like hell bent. I was like, this is mine, like a crazy person. And I'm never like I moved to New York thinking I'll probably be a Zumba instructor and I'm excited about that. Like I was
Right.
not like anyway. So they were like, okay, great, we'll try to see if we can get you in. And at first, I don't remember it was that I couldn't get seen, but they were like, you can send in a video with send in like the Lori songs and the sides and a video of you dancing that way.
Right.
And I was like, okay, like crazy. I spent like a whole day trying to get the perfect takes and I sent in a video. And a couple weeks went by and I was like, oh, dang it, I probably missed it. Then I get a call. It was like, hey, they want to see you next week. But I was out in Connecticut, so I had to drive in on my day off to go to this audition. And it was like they had narrowed it down to some people. And anyway, I remember driving in super early, dropped my stuff off. I was in the process of moving apartments and going through a breakup. It was like a very crazy time in my life. And I was moving all my stuff into one apartment. Anyway, I saw on the thing, okay, the audition's at Ripley Greer. Great. So I go to Ripley Greer and I was like, okay, I have 10 minutes to spare. Good. At least have 10 minutes to like get myself together.
Right.
And then I get there and I'm like, where's the room? What? And then I look back on my email and I was at the wrong Ripley Greer. There's another
Oh,
one at Columbus
no.
Circle. And I was like, ah! So of course, it was also the dead of summer. So it's so hot. I did not have money to get in a cab. And I was like, that's going to be probably slower in the middle of Times
Right.
Square, like getting in a cab. I don't even know if this. So I was like, all right, I'm going to run. So it's me running to the other Ripley Greer. I
Get
get there
out of
five
here.
minutes late. And I was like, oh my God, like just totally out of breath. I was like, they're going to think I'm so irresponsible, blah, blah, blah. So I get in. Thank God they were like running a tiny bit late, but I walked in and I was like, hi, I'm so sorry, I'm here. I'm just gonna, and I like went into the bathroom to get on my leotards. We were dancing first. And I had this moment, I like looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, Christine, you gotta like get your stuff together. Let's do this. And I went in anyway, and it ended up going really well. And then I got kept to sing and I sang all the stuff. They made me sing like the high version where she options up and people will say we're in love reprise or whatever. And I left being like, it was one of those auditions where I just left and I was like, okay, if I don't get it, I guess I'll be okay with it because I did the best work possible. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, it's fine. I left it all out there. If I don't get it, it wasn't meant to be. Just like let it go. And I didn't hear anything for a couple of days. I was like, I don't think I got it. And then I got a call that I got it. And then I got to do my dream role from this show that just had such an impact on me and got to work with two of Stroman's associates. And then I ended up getting to work with her later on in my career, partly because she knew that I had done that because it was the regional premiere of her version. Anyway, so that's that story. But it was just, I think it sticks out to me so much because that was even anything after that too. I've been determined, but that just takes the cake. Like young, overly ambitious Christine being like, I have to get this role. And it ended up working out. And yeah. So that's probably one of my number one booked it moments. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a good story. Hey, at least you
Yeah.
were warm when you showed up the other Ripley Greer.
Oh, I was so warm, maybe too warm, but yeah. But then it was good because after that, I think my agents were like, oh, okay.
Tell
Because
us, what else would you like to do?
yeah, they were like, okay, we'll believe you next time you're insane about trying to get some role. Because anyway, so yeah.
That's so good. I love it.
Yay.
And let's take a moment to talk about the present. What projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And we've talked about it a little bit, and it's a weird time, right? We're amidst this global pandemic. How do
Mhm.
you see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
Yeah, that's a tough question right now. All those questions are tough questions in this present moment for sure. It's interesting because I feel like you asked, if you would have asked me those first two questions at any other time in my career, I'd list off like four things I'm working on and 10 things I'm trying to look forward to. I'd have
Yeah.
my list ready. But this year, I really feel like I'm I've taken a big step back and really tried to use this time to be quieter and be calmer and really take advantage of this time with family and this time where I'm not running around and frantically trying to climb up to the next thing that's going to happen. So right now, the projects I'm working on, I'm doing a couple things here in Dallas. We just did a socially distant concert that was streamed with this great theater down here called Water Tower Theater. I actually was set to play Francesca in Bridges of Madison County at Water Tower, but then the virus happened and we had to cancel the show. We did that concert, and then I'm doing a couple other things with them coming up here, and I'm teaching a lot, teaching over Zoom and teaching at a local studio here. I It's funny, it's I feel like I just want to go toward where I feel most helpful, whether it's phone banking and singing for some sort of phone banking event to try to get the good person in the office, or whether teaching little kids in a mask and making sure they still get some sort of physical activity in and they still get some sort of they're in their developmental years, and it's really important for kids to have that kind of training and just like connecting with a lot of different students all over the country through Zoom. Feels like that's my project, if anything, right now. And just trying to continue. I always like to choreograph on my own and continuing to try to record stuff and keep building to my choreographic arsenal, I guess. And
Yeah.
yeah, and how do I see the industry moving forward? I do feel like this time is going to hopefully, what I hope it's going to do is strip away a lot of the BS of the industry. It is a time where you don't have, okay, who's doing what? And oh my God, so and so got this and all this is happening. It is this time where we are forced to do our own work and create, and whatever our own work happens to be. But I do hope that we can hang on to that mentality as the industry moves forward. The finding, I do think that it's going to happen inevitably because we're not going to have the budgets like we used to have immediately. Right when we can do theater again, I think we're going to be forced to have theater be smaller and more authentic. And,
Hmm.
we're not going to have all the bells and whistles that we maybe would have had even just last year. And we still will have those big production musicals. I think those are so important. But I do hope that we can hang on to some of this. What are we really doing it for? I think this time I've constantly asked myself, okay, why am I an artist? Like, why do I do this? And asking myself all those big why questions. And it's made me commit even further to what I want to do and commit even more intensely to being an artist. And I'm
Yeah.
really excited to be back in New York and be part of the renaissance of what theater is, bringing it back from the dead a little bit in this time. And I'm really looking forward to being a part of that, however that is. But yeah, I think that's such a complex question in this time. But also, I think a lot of good is going to come out of this. I think people are brewing up some pretty incredible stuff. So it'll be exciting to see what all comes to fruition after all this.
Yes, certainly will. Thank you for your insight on that. It's great.
Yeah, yeah.
And it is time to move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round.
Ooh.
I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, first question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
Fear and failure.
Yeah. But like you said, you have to, those are things that you have to practice so you can get the
Yes.
resilience.
Yes, exactly. But
You
I
have to
think
step into it.
when you're on the brink and you're about to go to New York or make the big break, that definitely sometimes can feel overwhelming, but you got to
For
lean
sure.
into it and you got to just go, all right, that's going to be part of it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second question, what is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Be kind because I think there are so many talented people in this industry and everyone is so good that people want to hire people they want to work with. They want someone that they're going to be happy with being in a room with them for 8 hours a day for 5 weeks straight in the rehearsal process and in the theater. And so just be kind to everyone within reason. You don't want to be a total doormat, but you want to focus. I think that is just as important as your skill set and the talent that you bring is who you are in the room and all that stuff.
Well said.
Yeah.
And the third question, what is something that is working for you right now? Or if you'd like to go pre COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
Ooh, I'd say both pre-COVID and in COVID is just continuing to do the work, whatever that is, and at whatever pace that is. And doing the work pre-COVID looked different than doing the work in COVID. And it'll look different doing the work after COVID. But just like always being a student, always trying to take class and train and do what you can under any circumstance. I think that's just always something you got to stick to.
Yes,
So,
for sure.
yeah.
And the fourth question, what is your best resource? Whether that is a book, a movie, a YouTube video, maybe a podcast or piece of technology that you found is helping your career right now.
Ooh, I'm like blanking on one specific one, but the first thing that comes to mind is interviews. I definitely try to find the people that I resonate most with in the industry and look up to, whether they're doing exactly what I want to be doing or they do something that I admire. And I try to listen to interviews and read their books if they have one. Like Twyla Tharp's book, I'm blanking on the name of the book, but she has an amazing book that really helped me a lot in my formative years. And Agnes DeMille's book, Dance to the Piper, was a really important book for me growing up. I feel like just trying to get inside the heads of people that I admire is always very inspiring and very helpful for me. So,
Oh,
yeah,
so good.
yeah.
And the fifth question, if you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in this industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently, or would you keep it the same?
I would keep it the same, but one thing that I wish I had known, that I wish I had just cut out right at the beginning, was constantly trying to emulate people in audition rooms. I feel like if I had just said, you know what, this is going to be how Christine sings this song, and go in, and one of the best moments I had in an audition room was I was brought in for a role that I was definitely not right for vocally. It was like the super alphaba thing. And I was like, I don't sing like that. But I got it with my voice teacher and I practiced like my way of singing it. That was not anything like what I know they wanted. But I delivered a really solid, confident version of like my version. And the casting director immediately goes, "You navigated that so well. Thank you. You're not right for this role, but I'm sending you in for this role. Perfect." And I was just like, man, I could have saved myself so much trouble going into rooms trying to like strain to get notes that I didn't have, or trying to emulate someone that I just wasn't, if I had just gone in and done my version of it. So I
Yeah.
think especially for younger actors, that's something that I wish I had done earlier. But at the same time, it took me a lot of mistakes and weird auditions for me to get it right. So that's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Such great advice and insight for everyone and anyone who's coming up in the industry, for sure to pay attention to that one.
Yeah.
And the last question, what is the golden nugget knowledge drop you've learned from your successful career in this industry you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Golden nugget knowledge drop. It would probably be along the lines of what we've already talked about, but always be a student. You've never mastered anything. I just don't think that exists. Maybe when you're like 85, but it just feels no, keep on learn. There's always something to learn. There's always something to gain, even from not great circumstances, and just always try to continually be a student. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Always be a student. So
Yeah.
good. And to wrap up this interview, Christine, it is time to give yourself a plug. Where can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
Ooh, you can find me on Instagram at Christine Cornish. I also have a website, but I don't know if people go to that anymore, but it's christinecornishsmith.com. And yeah, I don't have anything to plug at this very moment. Stay tuned on the Instas and some things will be coming up.
Beautiful. And for everyone listening out there, I have put the links to everything Christine just said into the description of this episode so you can easily connect with her. Christine, thank you so much for being on the show today, sharing all of your amazing insights in this industry. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Dane.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't miss an episode. I have a new guest 7 days a week. Every guest drops more value and insight than any other resource out there. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a rating and review. Also, be sure to head over to youbookeditpodcast.com and join our free email community where we dig deep into a continually growing resource of truly actionable things you can be doing right now to help you advance your entertainment career. All the best to you. We'll see you tomorrow.